For people, I think that is the main takeaway message is Vitruve is not interchangeable with other standard device, but Vitruve is useful for measure mean propulsive velocity at low velocities at high rates.
Hi, Juan. It's my pleasure to have you on Evidence Strong Show. If you could briefly introduce yourself.
My name is Juan Garcia Lopez. I'm lecturer of Sports Biomechanics in the Faculty of Physical Activity and Sports Sciences at the University of León in Spain. I teach Sports Biomechanics in undergraduate, in master, and in doctorate studies for the last 25 years, and I have mainly two lines of research. The first one is for analyze the biomechanics of different sport, cyclic sport mainly, for example, long distance running or cycling and other cyclic sport. And the second one is to validate different devices to measure biomechanical variables, power, force, velocity, and this interview is related my second line of research to validate different devices for analysis of biomechanical variables.
All right, so let's get straight into it. You wanted to measure one of the devices, its validity for resistant training exercise, and what it was and why did you want to measure it?
We validate one low cost and portable device named Vitruve, and we tested the barbell velocity in a wide range of velocities when the bench press exercise was performed. And this device is very used in the strength training area because it's cheaper and it's portable without cables, with a battery you can connect with your mobile phone, and the training, the coach, and the sports sciences use it to evaluate and to prescribe strength training programs. And for this reason, we tested the validity or not of this device, Vitruve.
What was the setup of your study?
In our study participate 13 physical students with more than 3 years of experience in strength training, and they perform one strength training program. And we take the measurement at the beginning, at the end, and 2 weeks later. So the data are obtained in real condition of strength training in the field and with people training strength. And we measure the mean propulsive velocity and the peak velocity. And we obtain these two variables at low, middle, and high loads. When the bar is moving fast, medium, and low velocities, we obtain one repetition maximum from each student, and after we check what happens at low velocity or high loads, at medium velocity, at low velocity, high loads. We test at different loads, and we test simultaneously with the Vitruve and with other encoder, gold standard encoder, name it T-Force. At the right side, the Vitruve, at the left side, the T-Force, and the registry were obtained simultaneously. So the comparison is direct. Is in the same repetition, we obtain two data from one and from other encoder.
What was the exercise you were using?
We perform the bench press, free barbell bench press.
Awesome.
On at the times.
Did you go with percentages? So, I don't know, 20, 50, 80% of 1 RM? Or how did you scale to have high load, low load, and medium load?
We establish these limits when after testing one repetition maximum. I don't remember no, but for example, for low loads is less than 40%, one repetition. And after to 40% to, I remember 65% is medium loads, and high loads, I don't remember if more than 65% or 70% of one repetition maximum, but the three zones are a little bit as I explained.
Any surprises during testing?
Yes, we check in the field that the Vitruve measurements are good at low velocities, that are not good at high velocities. And after, when I perform the study, we obtain the same and very good correlation between the two devices. But when we analyze the high velocity of the barbell, we obtain very high differences because the Vitruve overestimate the mean propulsive velocity and underestimate the peak velocity when the barbell moves fast. And The differences were explained by the sampling frequency. I speak about this, 100 from 1000. Also by the quality of the encoder, because if you pull of the encoder, you can sense the more soft encoder in the T-force and more harder and not homogeneous encoder in the T-force for table speaker. But the encoder is more sensible in T-force, and it's quite different in Vitruve. And finally, the third factor is the software, because I don't know if the Vitruve software only take the positive data during the propulsion. As the barber velocity increase, the negative phase of the push is higher, and you have deceleration at the end of the movement when the velocity is high. And I don't know if Vitruve software correct this and take only the positive values. And for this reason, the Vitruve overestimate the mean propulsive velocity, because after you check accelerations low than 7, these values must be not introduced in the calculus of the mean propulsive velocity, because the barbell is decelerating and you are measuring only the mean propulsive velocity. And we don't know if the software, Vitruve software, take this question account. And we explain in the paper that the differences between the both device could be to this question: the frequency, the quality of the encoder, and also the software analysis.
Will the technique of the athlete influence the readings of the encoders?
Theoretically, the better trajectory is a straight line, because the movement the efficiency is higher. But after some weightlifters use a curved trajectory to imply different muscle. And this theoretically, the hot move principle for biomechanics say that the movement must be straight of curve, but not sinuously. Theoretically, the straight movement is better, theoretically. I remember when I studied, compare low experience and high experience people. High experience people in the bar push the bar outside. 20% of the ball is outside, to do that the vector is at equally distant between the elbow and between yes, because the vector is more obliquous if you apply the force out, 20% of the force out and the vector allows to work the elbow extensor, and if you apply the 20%, 25% of the force out, the vector is aligned in between the shoulder and the elbow, and you can imply the triceps and also the pectoris. And I remember one interesting study comparing professional weightlifter, applying 25% of force out, and the beginners, not only technical force.
That's very interesting.
I think that the more stronger people and more high level people grab the barbell and after do the force vertical and out is not able. And this is the good difference between the works with barbell and with dumbbells with free weights, because when you use dumbbells, you only can apply force vertically. People think that it's a question of coordination, but not only coordination. It's a question that when you use the device, you push only vertically. If you push out,
you lose them. I learned something new.
No, it's not a question of coordination. It's a question of muscle implication.
And you probably can't use the same muscles, because if you can't apply force outside, it will be different muscles working harder. That's so good to know.
Yes, you use more pectoris muscle with free movement, and we use pectoris and triceps muscle when you use barbell.
I will remember that. Thank you. Okay, did you want to add anything about the results? Anything additional?
For people, I think that is the main takeaway message is Vitruve is not interchangeable with other standard device, but Vitruve is useful for measure mean propulsive velocity at low velocities at high weights.
Heavy weights.
Yeah. You can use in strength training if you train more than 65-70% of one repetition maximum, because no negative part of the propulsion is not very important and no problem. For me, is the main takeaway message for people.
So, and also using for mean velocity versus peak velocity.
Peak velocity, at low velocities, no problem. But if you perform then press at high velocity, I think that the sampling frequency is low, and the problem is to detect. For this, the Vitruve overestimate the mean velocity and underestimate the peak velocity because it's not able to register the tick velocity during the then press.
So we could say Vitruve very good for heavy lifts at low velocities, not so good for lighter lifts at high velocities. Especially if you are interested in measuring peak velocity, Vitruve is not your device of choice.
Yeah, okay. Yes. At those lows, it's not accurate and it's not valid.
Right.
I think that the main ideas of the paper are explained, and it's good because this device is very good. It's cheaper, it's portable, and people can use. But it's important to know that it's not interchangeable with other devices, and we can use with precaution when you use at high velocities. And it's a good device. Myself, I practice the cycling and strength training 2 weeks a week because I think that this combination is good for my health. And also I practice bench press. I love bench press. Always is one of my favorite exercise. Also other strength training exercise. And for this reason, we start the study because one student asked me about the validity of Vitruve, and we in the master contest we start the study about Vitruve. If you would like to say more about my scientific activity, you can check my full name, Juan Garcia Lopez, in ResearchGate and also in Google Scholar. And if you would like, and also too in YouTube or Instagram with my full name, you can check any information about the sport biomechanics in general and about my scientific activity.
Awesome, Juan. Thank you so much for today and for the interview and your study.
No, thank you for inviting me to this interview, and it's a pleasure to collaborate with you, and thank you.